This show is supported by you. Stick around till the ad break to hear more about that. This is Kappa Go for March 14th, 2025. Keep up to date with the important happenings in the Go community in about 15 minutes per week. I'm Shai Ahmad.
And I'm Jonathan Hall.
And I'm back.
You're back. Welcome back, man.
Thank you.
How's sunny California?
California is rainy. It's not sunny at the moment. I'm in beautiful San Ramon at the moment, looking at a lake. Nice. Well, let's be honest. I'm actually at the WeWork, phone booth jail cell combo. You know the ones.
I know the ones.
So I'm in one of those at the moment because I don't want to disturb all of my WeWork neighbors. But yeah, I'm in the United States.
Cool.
Thanks a lot to Lane Wagner for coming on the show, covering for me last week. You did a really, really good job, man. Shout out to Lane and to Boo.dev. Thanks a lot for that.
Always fun to talk to him.
You say on the as opposed to what you're having to do right now.
I like talking to you too, Shai. I've missed you.
Thank you. All right, we have a show. Let's do a show.
Let's do it.
Today we want to talk about a security release, some changes to Go Please, Helsinki meetup, some projects that we wanted to mention, the Typescript thing everybody's talking about. We'll just briefly mention. We don't want to do it this week because we're looking to talk to someone who is actually working on it. If you know someone who's working on the Typescript port to Go, let us know, because we are interested in getting more than just what the article says, which is go fast. I think we all know Go is fast. go better. That's a easy conclusion to reach. And some proposals. So we have a lot to get through. We have some cool stuff for the lightning round as well. Let's jump into it.
Here we go.
Let's start with an announcement of a security release. This one is a pretty fun one. 124.1 and 123.7 are released with a security fix following, the normal security policy in net HTTP, net proxy, and HTTP proxy. This one's, by the way, also reported by Yuho. If you're a longtime listener, you probably know that name as the single person who's with the finger in the dam holding back all the security problems in Go, basically. And this one's about IPv6. I don't know how you feel about these addresses, Jonathan, but I've become very cynical of them in the last 12 years.
Yeah.
I started learning. How did you learn networking, or how did you get started?
Well, I got started. So I ran an ISP, a dial-up ISP back when that was still a thing, and that's how I learned bitwise operations and had a net masks and all that stuff with IPv4.
Did they at the time teach you IPv4 is going to run out soon?
Absolutely,
and we need to figure
yeah. You have to pay extra for an IP address if you want to fix one because there's a limited supply. They're going to run out. IPv6 is the magical solution. It's better than AI and blockchain. It's going to solve everybody.
Yeah, you heard it here. Invest in IPv6 addresses now. It's a new goal. So yeah, I've been when I started learning networking, they gave me Computer Networks by Tenenbaum, that huge book you can level a table with.
Mm-hmm.
You just studied this back and forth. Then they told me IPv4 is going to run out. You're going to have to, everybody's going to use IPv6. And look, 2025, and we're actually okay. So the problem with this thing is that many people had to implement it, and it is used, and it is actually widely used, despite all the cynicism I just pointed at it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more complicated. It's more complicated than IPv4 addresses, which is why people keep finding security bugs in it, because the implementation is not top priority for anyone. So it doesn't get enough attention, and the spec is overly complicated, in my opinion, leading to security issues like these ones. Do you know that IPv6 addresses have zone IDs?
I'm vaguely aware of that. It's a concept. I don't know what they mean.
I wasn't aware. And I learned the IPv6 properly just because you don't have to use it. You'd end up forgetting.
Yeah.
So IPv6 address, when you imagine it, how does it look?
It looks like sets of 4-digit hexadecimals with some randomly placed colons and periods. I don't even remember.
So you have colons to separate them, right?
The order of anything. Yeah.
Apparently, there's a percent sign as well, and after the percent sign, you can put in a zone ID, which helps you identify like helps your computer route packets to the correct address. So if you want to send something and you have both a IPv4 and IPv6, if you have the zone ID, it might prioritize the IPv6 one. And the zone ID can be anything. Like zone identifiers have purely local meaning. They're not actually part of the address. They're just like helpers, like hints, almost like documentation.
It's kind of like the part after the hash sign on a URL then. They're like,
yeah, in a sense. Okay. But it's part of the address. Like in the URL, I'm already imagining it's very applicative, so it's no problem to add whatever bullshit you want, right? Because parse it however you like. But putting like basically documentation so low in the stack, at least to me, feels very peculiar. The security issue with this feature of IPv6 zone IDs is when you pass it's pretty funny, but when you pass a IPv6 address to a proxy server and the zone ID is actually an address, like a DNS address, you sort of poison the proxy to take the host. So let's take the most basic IPv6 address of all, which is localhost, which is : 1, right? : 1 is the IPv6 address for localhost. If you put the zone ID as star.example.com and you pass that to the Go HTTP proxy, your address will get matched and like not proxy. So I think this is a pretty edge case. Like the only reason you would actually care about this is if you have like dependable things that you must fix for a security audit, or if you're like the one person who's developing a GUI where you take untrusted addresses from users or from a database and put them into a Go proxy. But still better than not fixing it, I guess.
Yep.
Although there might be more attack surfaces that I'm not thinking about. But hey, if you didn't know about IPv6 zone IDs, now you know. And in any case, like we always recommend, you should just upgrade. This is just one security fix, so this update will probably not break your build. And who knows if like one of your libraries does use this somehow, right?
Yeah, so in short, upgrade Go 124 or 123 or XNet if you're using that third party. It's not third party, but that external back.
And thanks again to Yuho for providing us with all these educational security patches.
I love it that somebody else is willing to understand all these intricacies, so I don't have to bother. I could just go get.
Yeah, you could just chill, not worry about these RFCs. Whenever I open an RFC, I'm like half excited. I feel like very smart reading this like monospace 80-character document. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I'm like, my eyes immediately get glazed over. I think there's a market for translating RFCs to like TikTok 60-second videos. But I'm not going to fulfill that market.
You're not going to do that one? You're too busy?
No.
Okay.
I'm too busy. I have so much Go code that I need to upgrade. I like do if else's for things, and I have to replace it with min and max.
I know how you can get a bunch of that time back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The new Go Please.
How's that for a segue?
That's a great one. The new Go Please is out. This actually is about 3 weeks old, but we haven't had a show since then. We haven't had one together since then. Anyway, Go Please version 0.18.0 adds a whole bunch of cool things. Some of them look cool, but the one that will help you out is the new modernizer analyzer. Modernize analyzer.
Modernizer analyzer sounds good. It's like a Radiohead album.
Yeah, exactly.
Better known Android than modernizers or Alanine.
So like you remember back in the old days of Go, if you wanted to get the maximum of 2 numbers, you had to do this silly little if A is greater than B, then B equals whatever. You have to. Then they decided that was silly, and like computers are good at doing min and max, so they added min and max to the as built-in functions. Well, Modernize will detect those funny little if-elses and tell you to trigger them or to change them to min and max, and other similar sorts of changes. So that's what this new Modernize does. Do you think he'll use that?
I think overall this is a good approach. But I'm worried about Go is very famous for having one way to do things. And if you got to the point where Go Please has to modernize your code, what does that mean? Does that mean that there are many ways to do things in Go actually, and that promise is not true anymore? And like which cases does it cover? Like all of them are safe? A good one is replacing interface. Like if you have interface open paren, close paren, it replaces it with any, right? So to me, these two things mean exactly the same thing because I lived through Go 118 and I don't see any specific benefit for using any. Like, if you can replace the code automatically, it might be nicer, and there are some cases where I actually agree it's better, but I'm not 100% sure all of them are worth like the change and it has to go through code review. I don't know why I have an antagonistic feeling towards this, because overall it's a good thing. For example, the with cancel context that we talked about in Go 124, which is super new, right? And omit empty versus omit zero instruct, which is also Go 124 and also super new. These are like two super useful features I would love people to know about. And obviously not everybody's listening to our show, but if your linter, if like Go Please is telling you, hey, if your IDE is like popping, hey, you can modernize this. This is actually a much better way to let people know about these features. But it feels icky to me, and I'm not sure why. Maybe you can like explain this feeling.
I don't share the feelings. I don't know. So I've had a linter.
Oh, you think it's a good one?
Well, I mean, maybe there might be some examples where it's not, but of the examples I talked about, I like it. So switching interface open close to any, I did that a long time ago. I had a linter that told me, and I just did it all at once for the code bases I was involved in. There's a couple rare cases where I don't like it, where I prefer the interface open close parent or squiggly, and that's like where I'm actually building an interface and I just haven't put methods in it yet, where it's sort of a placeholder. But that's such a minor case that it's bit me maybe twice in the last year or something. For Minimax, I actually prefer switching to the Minimax or even cmp.or is not a built-in function, but it's a relatively new capability that can help you get rid of some if-elses. I like those because when they're not overly clever, because they mean less code to read, and the intent is more obvious.
All of these suggestions are only simplifying, in my opinion. Yeah. Like using slices.sort instead of like source.slice x func. So I think this is just like sort of hinting you towards how to simplify and clarify existing code by using the stuff that they added over the years. So min-max is the simplest example, but for a year ago we talked about ending ranging over ints, right?
Yeah.
All the focus was drawn by ranging over functions, which was the actual big change. But now you have all these 3 clauses in for loops, right? Where in Python I never write those, right? I never would go like for I equals 0, I is smaller than n, I plus plus.
Yeah.
But just because I in Go that's how it was done, now I can do I walrus range up to n, and that just works, and it looks nicer. I'm still getting used to it, but it definitely looks nicer. So this analyzer would assist me in recognizing that, hey, I can use that here. And I don't want to remember all these cases by heart. Right? I don't want to remember all these new features. I want them to pop up in context.
On your point about going through another code review cycle, I think this is a place. I don't know if Go Please will automatically do these updates for you if you tell it to.
You can't pass a minus fix, and then you actually have to run it a couple of times until it figures everything out, because some cases, some cases actually have you fix it once and then the inside of the loop was another thing, and it won't do both changes at the same time. So you have to do a couple of passes.
But like that's the kind of thing where if you have a pull request that is completely done by a tool, in principle you could skip code review. Of course, it's up to your team's policy, but I don't think it needs to be a big burden for code review. Hopefully, a person isn't going through and validating the tool does everything right. Hopefully, we trust that the authors of the tool are conservative.
I'll counter that, and I'll say that the new Modernize Analyzer team has said that they are aware of bugs in the analyzer's fixes. It may cause an import to become unused or delete like comments. Or do and the comments in Go could be like a library call or a Go generate call or things like that.
I know why that is.
And they literally say these things are obvious during a code review. So, one big benefit, even though this does make me feel kind of icky, is I think most of the code people will generate and not write will not use the modern features. Because most of the training set, right? Like if you tell an AI right now and without any like system prompt engineering, trying to make it use the best practices and follow the new stuff and whatever, just like a normal model out of the box, tell it, create a for loop. It will probably create the old style, right? Because it has a million examples of those and not a lot of the new ones. And especially talking about things that come in 124, right? It doesn't have it in the training data at all. So, I think using for range strings dot split instead of like using that, the modernized analyzer is going to suggest use split seek instead, right? I've never written split seek before, so I'd be super surprised if the AI is going to autocomplete that for me. But if it's going to autocomplete the old one, and then the linter is going to be like, hey, here's what you actually want to use. And the, Go PLS is not AI. It's deterministic and written by smart people. I think it sort of helps out with the fact that a lot of code is generated based on training on older practices, right? So I think that's a benefit. How do I upgrade? Do I need to do anything specific, or will my IDE just do it for me?
I don't know which IDE you use, but I'm pretty sure VS Code does it for you automatically, because I've been using this and I haven't tried to upgrade. So
cool. So if you are using like some custom setup where you need to upgrade CoPLS, our conclusion after discussion is that this is a net good.
I would say so. If you disagree though, and you want to go fight with somebody about it, and you're in Helsinki.
Okay, because they are
that's the most awkward transition.
Worldly known as violent people.
Helsinki is having a Go meetup on March 20, and they're looking for speakers. So you could go speak about your hatred for this new feature, and maybe pick a fight.
That's next week. That's like in 7 days.
Exactly. Gotta hurry.
Yeah. So, Nikolai Kuznetsov, who's working on PGX Outbox, has invited everybody. And you can register. Oh, the event actually moved to March 18th. So you even have less time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good thing I opened the LinkedIn post. The LinkedIn post is in our show notes. So if you're in Helsinki or in the area, go visit. It looks like a pretty good meetup. Click house and go.
It's going to be, there's a Londo office, which should be a fun place. I don't know what it's like at that location, but it's always fun to see companies' offices.
And if you're working with ClickHouse in Go, they're going to have a talk about it. I think this is a good point to stop for a second with all the news and talk about the TypeScript native port. We're not going to dive into it fully because, like we said, we're looking for people who are connected to this project. If you know anyone, please let us know. We're trying to reach out to them on social media, but that's not always the best way to get a hold of these people. If you don't know what this is, what are we talking about? Everybody's been talking about it, but I guess some people get their news through us, so we should tell them about it.
What? Listen to a news podcast for news? So the news is that Microsoft has announced that they are rewriting TypeScript in Go. That doesn't mean that you'll be writing Go for the browser or anything like that. It means that the transpiler that converts TypeScript into JavaScript that runs in the browser will be written in Go, and the headline reason is 10 times faster.
Woohoo!
Compilation times, not TypeScript runtime. I don't imagine that will be changing substantially.
TypeScript is not a runtime.
Exactly.
It just compiles to JavaScript.
Right.
And it's going to compile to theoretically the same JavaScript.
Yes. But it'll do it faster. So it'll make your CI pipelines faster and your local npm run dev and npm build and those sorts of things should go faster once this project is done. And they have a video and a blog post and a big GitHub issue about it, sort of talking about they considered many other languages, and Go is kind of the sweet spot they settled on.
Yeah, the benchmarks they're showing here are super impressive. They're saying compiling the entire VS Code code base, which is like 1.5 million lines of code, is down from 77 seconds to 7.5 seconds, which is slightly more than a 10% speed up.
Mm-hmm.
Playwright, which is a lot of these libraries, let's see, they talk about the following code bases: VS Code, Playwright, TypeORM, date functions, TRPC, and RxJS. I'm using 5, I've used 5 out of 6 in the last 3 months where I've started doing TypeScript professionally in the backend. All of these are 10 to 14 times faster, which is literally 1 order of magnitude faster. Super great for me. A lot of talk on why Go, a lot of talk on how this works, a lot of talk about how this happened. And we're hoping to find someone. Ideally, we'll talk to Andre himself if we can get some time on his calendar. If you can connect us, if you're working at Microsoft, we would really appreciate it. Yeah, they picked Go, which is interesting. A lot of the language stuff, all the new Python tooling, like UV and Rough, is in Rust. I was surprised to see Go picked as the tool here. But obviously, it makes a lot of sense from various reasons. Especially, it's very fast to develop.
I'm excited to see what kind of spillover this will have into other JavaScript tools. Because like ESBuild is already written in Go and it's incredibly fast. But like, will we get other linters and other build tools for the JavaScript ecosystem written in Go? I would expect we will, if only because this raises the awareness. But I suspect that there will be some tools that Microsoft builds that could easily be adapted to other problems. And it would just be great to have faster JavaScript build tools across the board, whether you're using TypeScript or not.
Maybe things like Jest, like testing frameworks that are currently today in TypeScript and JavaScript mostly. And I feel they could be slightly faster. I always, when I work with these test execution tools versus like Go test, I always feel a bit bad. But it's, radically improving TypeScript performance. If you're like me and you have to work with TypeScript in the backend, this is great news for you.
Wait, if you're like John, with TypeScript, or you get to work with TypeScript?
Well, you know what? I work with TypeScript in the backend, and I have to work with Python in the backend. That's my current situation. So we don't want to dive too much into it if we can find someone who's an expert. So connect us to an expert, please, please, please. And we'll keep it in the backlog just in case we don't find one, and then we'll try to figure it out ourselves.
Yeah.
That does it for what we have time for this episode. We actually plan to talk a bit on more things, but this is a catch-up episode. We'll catch up to the backlog. If the Go community can stop innovating for 2 weeks and let me catch up, that would be really appreciated. And let's take a short break.
As we mentioned at the top of the show, this show is listener supported. That support comes in many different forms. You can support the show by sharing it with a friend, with a colleague, with a student, with your pets, with your wife, with whoever you know, the neighbor, the mailman. Share this. We don't pay to advertise, so word of mouth is how people learn about the show. You can also support us financially if you want to on Patreon. Shai is checking right now to see if we have any new Patreons to shout out to.
Shout out to Jay Martin, who became a member of Kappa Gopher.
Awesome.
And became a part of our beautiful, beautiful audience, which is now 40, I think.
40.
Not all of them are paying members, but all of them are very appreciated. And, some of the people who have been here a while, and, it's $8 a month or €8, like, whoever, or how much you want to give. But some people have been here for a while, and these numbers like add up. And, some people have almost paid for a full episode and things like that. And that's super, super appreciated. This is a hobby. This is a hobby, but it's an expensive one. We need to pay for editing. We need to pay for hosting fees, obviously our time into doing the show. So it's a hobby. We do it to learn about Go. Like, how else would I know what the IPv6 zone IDs are? But this helps. This helps a lot. Thanks a lot to all our beautiful Patreons. The newest one, Jay Martin.
Thanks, Jay.
And the previous one is Jamie. And 3 before that is Jose. So if your name starts with J, you're a good fit to our Patreon audience.
Yeah.
Jens, and there are a lot of J's in this crowd.
The other way you can support us is just by joining our Kappa Go Slack channel. We have 498 members there. So if you're not already there, wait for one other person to come in first so you can be 500. But come join us there. We just chat about Go stuff that's not really very structured. You can share news items there, meetups, conferences, blog posts, anything of relevance or irrelevance is welcome there too. And of course, you could leave a rating or review wherever you listen to your podcasts. That would also be helpful.
One last quote unquote sponsor for this week's episode is my new company, Opsin.
Ooh.
If you're in the Bay Area and you want to come do engineering with me, we're looking for one founding engineer. Just like one role to fill in the final piece of the puzzle of the founding team. You got to be pretty experienced, but just you can talk to me on Slack.
And you get to use TypeScript and Python there?
Don't let me. You get to work with me. Isn't that enough? So opsinsecurity.com/careers if you want to join the team. I'm having a lot of fun. Like I'm bashing TypeScript and Python a little bit just because you got to complain about something.
Right.
But obviously I'm enjoying this new place very much. Otherwise I wouldn't be putting it on the show. Because I've been with the show for like 2 years and I've been here just like 1 month. So, it's pretty good.
All right. Well, stick around. We have a couple lightning round items before we wrap up the show.
Lightning round. My first submission for the lightning round is the ASDF Go rewrite. So we talked about, the big Typescript rewrite because that has a lot of reach, but I actually love the rewrite of ASDF. ASDF is a tool that it used to be a bunch of bash scripts that help you install stuff and manage your environment and things like that. I've actually used it and then stopped using it, but it's pretty good. You like ASDF, I want this Python. ASDF, I want this Node version, whatever. I've ended up using the specific environment tools for each one. So I use UV for Python and NVM for Node. I have my tool set that I already know, but instead of a bunch of shell scripts that mess around with your bash environment and whatever, this is now a single binary written in Go. And it's 7 times faster. So that's great. I love these rewrites. A tool gets solid enough for performance to be the issue, and then you pick Go as a good language.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the main issue was performance, but also maintainability. Early on, Bash served them well, but then it's kind of harder to work with it, and people contributed wrong bug fixes, and it's hard to see type issues, blah, blah, blah. Arrays in Bash is very difficult. In Bash, everything is just a string. They go through this entire blog post. You can check it out. And if you want to join a pretty big and fun project, this is a good time to do it because now it's in Go.
Cool. So, Shai, do you think they use Cloudflare over there at ASDF?
Well, I assume they do. A lot of the internet traffic in general goes through Cloudflare.
Yeah, right. Cloudflare has recently published an interesting article with a whole bunch of statistics about internet traffic because they see such large percentages of internet traffic. They can do some analysis on this traffic and come up with some interesting statistics. And one of the statistics they publish, it says we analyzed API traffic to identify the top languages used to develop API clients. So assuming this is a representative sample of the entire internet, what percentage of API traffic is done by is done using clients written in a particular language? And Go comes out the highest, just edging out Node.js and Python. That's kind of interesting. I'm really curious how they determined that, for one thing. And I imagine there's a lot of API traffic they just can't determine at all. So it's this unknown bucket of stuff. But even so, it's interesting that Go APIs are so popular out there.
It just goes to show that, for specific workloads, Go is the number one choice today, I think, just in terms of popularity. And my final thing for the roundup is very similar to the ASDF one. It's about NVM Windows. So a few episodes ago, I don't remember when I mentioned this project, NVM Windows, because it had a new release, which is NVM, which helps you manage Node versions on your machine, but for Windows. It has a section about why write it in Go and not write it in Node. And I really liked the part in the README, which says, I wanted to experiment with Go, which is why I picked Go over other languages. But the reason I didn't write NVM with a node is because writing a tool with the tool you're trying to install doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And this is something I felt a lot of times with Python tooling, where you have great Python tooling, but the bootstrapping experience is horrible because you have to install some Python runtime, and then your machine is already it already has 2 different Pythons on its path, and you're super annoyed. Obviously, it makes sense to write it in not necessarily in a different language, but just ship it as a single binary. And Go is a good option for that, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
So I just like
so
that.
Now you can run NVM written in Go, TypeScript written in Go, ES-Build written in Go. We're getting there.
Yeah, for sure.
Go's taking over the world.
Go will do all the things. I just like the fact that that's the specific part of the README is the thing I'm bringing to the lightning round, not the entire project.
Right.
But if you want to do NVM on Windows, that's another good option.
Cool. Well, I think that's the show. It's good to talk to you again, Shai. It's good to ramble about Go.
Yeah, and same time zone. We have similar energy because it's early lunch for both of us.
Exactly.
Cool. If anybody's in the Bay Area and wants to hang out, I'm here now. People wanted to hang out when I was in Tel Aviv and in Herzliya. So now I'm in the Bay Area. If you are as well, talk to me on Slack. I haven't set up Slack on this machine yet, but I will after this lunch.
Awesome. Until next time.
Yeah. Have a nice weekend, everybody. Right? That's the time zone. Yeah. We're good. Have a nice weekend, everybody. And that's it. Program exited. Bye-bye. Goodbye.